Giant season.
Join us this October 1st through 3rd for our first annual Fight, Laugh, Feast conference. We are bringing a mix of beer and psalms, fellowship and food, and speakers who have been deplatformed by the evangelical elite and occasionally end up in Facebook jail. Step out of the boring, benign Christian conference circuit and step into the rowdy Christian world of engaging culture while standing firmly on God's word. Most conferences will lull your faith to sleep and teach you how to obey the 11th commandment, but our people, our culture, our country needs the high-octane gospel that applies to every area of our lives. So join us in Nashville as we fight, laugh, and feast together. Sign up now at fightlaughfeast.com, and we look forward to seeing you in Nashville October 1st through 3rd as we build a rowdy Christian culture for God's glory and our good.
You know we at war with your gods, y'all. The flesh in the world gotta die.
2020, what is wrong with you?
I don't know what's wrong with you.
Man, 2020 started out so good.
Did it, though?
Did it? What protest would you rather be at, Hong Kong or Minneapolis?
Right now, I want to be in Minneapolis.
Do you?
I do.
Ooh,
That's his hometown.
That's my house.
And we got to get update here on the Delighten progress, what's been going on in California. We cannot let that get out of our minds with this news cycle and what's going on.
Nah, that's good.
Right? We also got Steve Yates coming up. Mr. The Good Doctor, Steve Yates.
Yeah, man. He's
Coming
just
up.
getting lost and find his way back to...
What was that at the end?
It has an ending that Gabe missed. Is that what you're talking
That
about?
was different.
No, it's always been there.
Really?
He never finished it. He just drops it off.
I do finish. No, I do finish
I
it.
don't remember hearing that ending before.
Okay,
Is he-
I need some vindication. I need some
Is that
vindication. My
ending
people.
new? Are you sure?
No,
I thought
that's been there.
That last little thing at the end.
Yeah.
Make sure you guys share the show. Also, give us a high five. High five. Oh, no,
Pastor Toby has rebuked us for high fiving, so I don't think we can do it anymore.
Fight Laugh Feast t-shirts for those who are bronze, silver, platinum, and above. We cannot do this without you guys. Make sure you sign up, join our club, and come to our conference October 1st through the 3rd in Nashville.
I'm looking forward to
that.
that.
That's going to be fun.
Hey, Samaritan Ministries is one of our sponsors, and we love them.
Yes, we do.
They not only do we love them because they're supporting us, but we love them for what they do.
Yeah.
They're not a traditional health care. They're not a traditional health insurance.
Right.
They are Christians caring for other Christians.
Health sharing.
Yes, and it's my wife and I. We've been members for a number of years now. We've really appreciated how they've taken care of us.
Yeah.
And literally every month, all you get is a notification of the need that you're helping with. It's a real person. It's a real person with a real health need, and here's the amount of money they need, and you write a check to that person with name and an address, and you send it to them directly, and we pray for them.
Yeah.
And frequently we'll stop and we'll pray. And it's a cancer treatment, it's a broken leg, it's a pregnancy need, it's some other kind of thing going on, and we just send the check directly to the people. We love it. We are thankful for it. We believe in it because we don't believe that the government should be providing health care,
That's right.
insurance. We don't believe, and it really doesn't make sense even for there to be massive sort of corporate structures around it.
Yeah.
And the problem with that corporate structure is they get in bed with the government.
And then the government gets
That's
in.
what
there's
happens.
hooks.
Exactly.
Right.
So we want to encourage you, go check out Samaritan Ministries.
Please.
Samaritan Ministries, and tell them that Cross Politics sent you. Also,
Sorry, did I do that? Did I do that? My bad.
did you do
My
that?
bad.
Hey guys, I also have some mugs for you.
I see. What are these? Yeah, these are nice.
These are same page summer. It's my turn to bring bling to the show.
Oh, how about that? How about
Hey,
that?
a bunch of us are getting on the same page. We're getting on the train. You got a train thing? No?
Choo choo. How about that? Chugga 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 chugga
Oh
chugga.
man, I love you.
Get on the Bible reading
I love
train.
you guys.
I do some beatboxing back here while you talk.
I love you guys. Hey,
chugga,
get yourself one of these Bible reading challenge. That's what you want, right? You want to go to christkirk.com
Get on board.
/Bible reading challenge or Bible reading or something. And what we want to do is we want to read the whole New Testament this summer.
Yep.
Starting June 1st, which is tomorrow or today, depending on when you're watching this. Or maybe it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Why are you so late in watching the show for Sunday? Anyways, Bible reading challenge. We're going to read the whole New Testament together. You're going to download the schedule. It starts on June 1st. It goes through August. Also, one of the ways we do this is a lot of people listen to it. You go to Christ Kirk, get the app, download the app.
Awesome.
Keep the feast, same page summer. Click on it. You can read it on your phone. You can listen to it on your phone. Every reading is right there. Also, don't be precious about this.
Yeah.
I learned
What do
this
you mean
from
by that?
Darren Doan. This is his motto, don't be precious.
Yeah.
Don't be precious. Now, of course, we love the Word of God. We want to honor the Word of God, and you ought to have a nice Bible that you use.
Yeah.
But you know what? Sometimes you need to stop being so precious about your Bible reading time.
Yep.
Okay? Just eat. Okay? Not every meal is a steak dinner. Not every meal is an anniversary dinner.
Right.
Not every meal is a Sabbath feast. Sometimes you just got to eat. You got to have a bowl of cereal. You got to have a piece of toast.
Get in and get out.
Just get your hot dog and eat.
Just
right?
read it.
And
Just read it.
And so sometimes some of the people in the Bible reading challenge have been doing is get a cheap Bible,
Yeah.
paperback Bible, and just carry it around with you. Stuff it in your bag, stuff it in whatever, and it's going to get all wrinkled up and bent around and messed up, and you can write in it. And you
You're
can
killing
highlight
me. You're
it,
killing me.
And you can just
Tell me that hurts.
But here's
I
the
can't
thing.
watch.
Here's what you're doing. You're eating.
Yeah.
You're eating
No, you're
God's word.
destroying the Bible.
And God told Ezekiel, eat it.
Yeah, I'm with that.
Eat it.
I'm with
okay?
that.
So you need to eat it. Get yourself
Yeah.
a Bible.
That's good.
Get on the Bible reading challenge. We want to read the Bible.
I noticed you didn't do that with your nice leather Bible.
That's what I said. Have a nice one. Have a nice one.
Okay.
But get on board. And we're all going to read the New Testament
Yeah.
together. There's also Facebook groups for men and women.
Yep.
If you want to cheer each other on, share stuff, ask questions, whatever. Also, one last thing. We're going to be doing a midweek sermon.
Yes.
On Wednesdays.
Every Wednesday afternoon, 4 o'clock Pacific time. I guess that's 7 o'clock Eastern time. And it'll be keyed to one of the texts for that week of the Bible
That's
reading
great.
challenge.
That's awesome.
I'm
I
going to be
love
giving
that.
messages. Pastor Doug will be giving messages. Pastor Merkel, Zorns, some of the other guys,
Great Fires,
guys.
Yep.
And we put together a schedule. And so every Wednesday, plan to tune in or catch it after the fact. It'll be on the Christ Church Facebook page.
I'm looking forward to
and
that.
on the app afterwards.
I just want to add that this is how Reformation and Revival starts.
Yeah.
Just reading the Bible. This is where it starts. If we're tired of what's going on in our culture, in our churches, this is where Reformation and Revival
and
starts.
let everything that we talk about after this, everything we talk about, right? Let it drive you back to the Word.
That's
what we need. We need the
Amen.
Word. We need the gospel. We need the Word. And you need to know it. Genesis to Revelation and then do it again.
Okay, I got some mugs for you guys.
What?
Check out
This-
the new mugs
What is this, like
that
mug
are
day?
in our store. Isn't that nice?
What is this?
They got new mugs in
Wait,
our
time
store,
out.
man.
It's like a camping mug.
And-
Did you approve
exactly.
this?
Hey, I didn't.
No, you guys didn't approve
It
that.
clinks.
I don't think we approved this.
It's a camping mug. Cross-politic
David,
camping mug.
when was the last time we ever approved anything?
Hey, guess what? Scott Saul sent us his new book, his book that he told Jesus Outside
yeah.
Lines. He
Oh,
wants
this
to
is the
read-
older one that he
wants
said-
to read Jesus Outside Lines.
Okay.
And then American Vision sent us Greg Bonson's new book.
He's writing from the dead?
He's
Wow,
writing from the
yeah,
dead.
you can take
American
that one.
Vision.
No, that's yours.
No, these are mine.
And then
Hand it over. Hand it over.
And then lastly, Pastor Steve Warhorst, our buddy over on the East Coast, he wrote a little kids book, and he sent us a little kids book, and he wrote it out to each of our kids' names and everything. Here we go.
What?
This is Toby's right here.
Get
Pastor
outta
Steve
here.
Warhorst sent us a book. So,
Pastor Steve, look at
yeah,
you.
Pygo the Free, a cautionary tale.
the free.
Look at
Wow.
this.
Hey,
So
man.
make sure you guys. I think you can get on Amazon. It's Reformation Heritage Books.
This is awesome.
So
Whoa.
This is
nicely
awesome.
illustrated. Check it out. Pastor Steve sent that to us.
That's how you
Yeah,
build.
it's
That's
awesome.
actually that's how you build culture.
Man.
Right.
Children's
for kids.
books.
That's
Yeah,
right.
That's how
That's
you
right.
make culture. That's how you're making people.
So make sure
I'm
you
still
guys
not over these cups.
buy Pastor Steve Warhorst's book and go to American Vision to get Bonson's new
I'm
old.
This is a
new
lot of
book.
presents,
I know.
guys. This is a
I
lot
know.
of
Well, you
presents.
guys were out of the knocked us out of the studio and all these people. So what we really like is books, whiskey, cigars, and your baby's baptized. Those are our favorite gifts right there. Okay.
Go baptize your kids if you have children.
My executive order calls for new regulations under Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act to make it that social media companies that engage in censoring or any political conduct will not be able to keep their liability shield. That's a big deal.
Liability.
Yeah. So
Liability
so
shield.
the Section 230 for it's U.S. Code Section 230. It protects companies that may have either
A platform.
some kind of platform, social media, whatever.
Yep.
It treats them basically like utilities, and
Yeah.
it protects
Okay.
them from liability.
Right.
For somebody who is doing something
Or
slanderous
illegal on their platform.
like Verizon or
on,
something
on
like
the
that.
platform. So if two dudes are texting on Verizon and
We're
planning,
going to kill them tomorrow night.
Yeah, right. Verizon is not held liable. They're
Right.
shielded from that liability.
Yeah.
Now, but what happens is, of course, there are media companies, journalist companies that actually are they're giving information that is where they are editing. They are choosing information. We're going to publish this or
CNN,
not that.
National
CNN,
Review.
Fox.
And there's libel laws that apply to them.
And libel laws and defamation laws.
So they need to be accurate. They need to.
And they are
Truthful.
liable for the information. That's why they have to correct misinformation and so forth.
Right.
And so thus far, Twitter and Facebook and other social media companies have been
More like utilities.
Have been treated more like utilities.
Right.
And so they've been protected from liability. But what Trump's pointing out is that they've started censoring. They've started
acting
picking and choosing. So they're acting more like publishers of information. And Trump says, if you're going to do that,
we're going to take away
then
your
I'm going
liability.
to take away your liability protection.
Which is, it's funny because when I first heard this, I'm like, okay, I don't want a president who's going to step in the middle of this and start maneuvering companies around. But what he's actually doing is saying, this is what we've agreed to. This is how we've agreed that you operate. We're starting to see you're not operating in the way that you said and what we've agreed to.
Right.
So in that case, this is not who you are.
Right.
So
if you want to be a publisher, then we'll treat you like a publisher. If you want to be a utility, we'll treat you like a utility.
Right.
So I think there's something to that. I mean, it still makes me nervous when you got the feds and you got the president all up in a private business's
Well, this could backfire on citizens,
but
not even just Twitter.
But I think this all by itself doesn't seem to be the problem. I think there's probably bigger structural issues that are actually in play that may be problematic.
Right.
But I think nevertheless they got to pick: are you a phone company or are you a publisher?
Right.
This is probably a thing that's going to come up for me in the whole show.
Okay,
but. This is all because
I'm glad we had a theme.
Finally.
At least with me, because I haven't been able to sit down and watch the news, watch commercials, or watch really anything on social media that doesn't really have something to do at the end of the day with the election.
Oh.
Everything that's happening right now, no matter what it is, this situation, good or bad, is all pointing to the election. And if we don't have the right lens to start viewing this with, we're going to miss out on what's happening. This is not all separate events.
Well, and this goes to this is all related. I mean, it's not the timing of this is not accidental with the way that Twitter has been treating Trump. You guys, you've been following this.
Yeah.
I mean, so he has he was tweeting last night about the Minneapolis stuff, which we're going to get to in third segment. But it's actually blocked. I'm looking at it right now. It says this tweet violated the Twitter rules about glorifying violence.
Yeah.
However, Twitter has determined that it may be in the public's interest for the tweet to remain accessible, and then you can click view if you want. The particular one that it's blocking, it says these thugs are dishonoring the memory of George Floyd, and I won't let that happen.
Before it was blocked. Yeah.
Just spoke to Governor Tim Walz, told him that the military is with him all the way. Any difficulty, we will assume control. But when the looting starts, the shooting starts. Thank you. So Twitter's censoring that at least somewhat. They didn't delete it, but they're blocking it.
Let's make sure we talk about that in the third segment.
We'll get back to it.
But that's the context. It's the election.
This is all wrapped in together.
Censoring and Trump's fighting.
Well, in 2020's news cycle, I mean, this last week, this news cycle is crazy, but 2020 has been quite the news cycle. And one of the things I don't want us to forget is what David Daleidon's been doing.
Yeah.
And the lawsuits that's been going on in California.
That's kind of got buried a little bit.
It's got buried a little bit in all this. To tee up what this next video, so Planned Parenthood sued or took Daleidon to the California courts.
Because he did undercover videos catching abortion providers
selling baby
admitting
parts.
that they sell baby parts. They make money. Remember the one gal says, I want a Lamborghini.
Yep. And so they went after, Planned Parenthood went after Daleidon.
Right.
And then this next video that we're going to show you is in that process, Daleidon and his team got to cross-examine.
Right.
And all sorts of stuff came out.
So the purpose of laws against trading valuable consideration for body parts is to stop any financial incentives to turn a human being into a commodity. Valuable consideration is not strictly about profit or reimbursement. It's about keeping any market forces away from organ donation, period. This is crucial in the context of abortion, where a pregnant woman is free to choose only up until the moment the fetus dies, and then the choice becomes irreversible. Democrat Henry Waxman, the author of the fetal tissue law, explained it this way.
This amendment that I'm offering in the nature of a substitute would enact the most important safeguards, and those are the safeguards to prevent any sale of fetal tissue for any purpose. It would be abhorrent to allow sale and a market to be created for that sale.
Representative Waxman later said, any price is unreasonable and illegal under this law. But Planned Parenthood's own documents show that market demand for body parts was the driving force in their fetal tissue deals. Emails from the biggest Planned Parenthood affiliate in the country, Planned Parenthood Marmonte, show how they switched from selling body parts to Advanced Bioscience Resources and partnered with STEM Express instead, because STEM Express offered a larger market and therefore more money to Planned Parenthood.
So Democrats in 1993 are pushing a bill, which is it's incredible. It's incredible that we're talking about this, but they're pushing a bill to basically eliminate the connection between financial gain and research with
a Democrat from California.
Yes, from California, 1993. So hold that thought there.
Planned Parenthood has tried to say that they were only getting reimbursement for vague costs, but the STEM Express contract conditions the payment specifically on STEM Express being able to harvest usable body parts inside Planned Parenthood Marmonte. It's true the law allows reimbursements for specific costs when donating fetal organs for free, but there are two requirements in this limited exception. Number one, the payments have to be reasonable reimbursements, and number two, they have to be associated with these specific costs. Planned Parenthood didn't do any transportation, implantation, processing, preservation, quality control, or storage of the fresh body parts they sold to STEM Express. That was STEM Express's job. And the payments were totally disconnected from any actual costs.
Right.
They were only associated with marketable body parts for STEM Express. Wow. That means no matter what kind of costs Planned Parenthood ever had, and there is no evidence they had any that were legal, Planned Parenthood was only paid and incentivized for the number of body parts that STEM Express could market.
Again, the PPMM would only be reimbursed if a sample was actually usable. Is that correct?
Yes.
So what happened there was David Daleiden took that 1993 law, and during this testimony that came out through Planned Parenthood taking them to the courts, he just showed them, you guys broke your own Democratic law in 1993.
Their discovery helped him be able
Their
to
discovery helped David Daleiden figure all this out that was going on. And so, it's just, first of all, Daleiden's a genius.
Well, and you know that he's now sued them.
Yeah,
exactly.
So that's the most recent thing. Is so he'd been walking through this whole debacle in California. And if you've been watching it at all, I mean, you should just do a little bit of Googling and find out what they've been doing. But like the judges in California have been ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's a farce.
Yeah.
It's nothing close to justice.
Yep.
But one of the things that it struck me at one point is, I think Daleiden is the kind of guy who has had his camera on the entire time.
Yeah, he's right.
And I think he's been like rolling with this thing. Just wait until he had all. I mean, this is what he does.
He's ahead of them.
He's like, please take me to court.
He's like, please,
Yeah.
please. And then suddenly, after a few years in court, being harassed, and these people have no conception of justice, no conception
they're
of being,
blind.
Of being careful.
Yeah. Right.
And he's just right there, just pulling them in, videoed everything, and now he just suddenly, I think he sprung the trap.
Oh, yeah.
And he's got a lot of footage that he's bringing against them. He's sued California. Kamala Harris is involved in this. She had meetings with Planned Parenthood of California. I mean, the whole thing is, they're all corrupt and messed up with this. I mean, and I think, again, one of the glorious things about this, first of all, this is kind of sad that he's a Roman Catholic because, come on, Protestants, where are you at? Where are you at? I mean, but,
don't even get me started.
But God bless him anyways.
Yeah.
And pray he comes to know the truth of justification by faith alone. But you know what? This is how God works.
Yeah.
He allows the wicked sometimes to come into power. And what do? They overreach.
Yep.
That's right.
Because they become, they think that they've got it.
Yeah.
They've got the shot. They've got it. They are in power. And they did this with Jesus. They do it with all his people.
That's right.
And God says, wait, and then he springs the trap. Right. And so this is what the Christians have to have this mindset all the time.
Yeah.
Even when it's looking dark, you need to be thinking, okay, my God runs this place.
Yeah, that's right. Come on now, preach, preacher.
My God, my Savior, my King is in charge, and he will not let his people be crushed.
That's right.
And so that's what's going on, I think, in a miniature with David Daleiden. And I can't. I'll
help you.
How do you say that? How do you say
Delighted.
that?
Coming up next, Steve Yates talks about Hong Kong, something else that's kind of gotten buried, and we don't want that to get buried. And then the third segment, we're going to talk about George Floyd and everything that's happening in Minneapolis. Can we get some water out there? More Cross Politic coming up next.
Americans have been traveling down the health insurance highway for decades. But lately, it's been taking us to places we don't want to go. For Christians, it's hard to know which road to take. Or is it? Samaritan Ministries provides a different direction, a biblical path for their members to pray for each other and share financially in each other's medical needs.
This idea that Samaritan has adopted from the book of Acts should permeate all parts of our lives, not just health sharing. We, as a body of believers, are living out New Testament Christianity. This is what God intended for the church.
Do you believe that you need an insurance company, or do you believe that God will provide your needs? And there are people that you've never met before who are going to pray for you and meet your needs. There's another way.
Looking for a new direction for your health care? Visit us online at SamaritanMinistries.org.
Logos Online School is your affordable partner in classical Christian homeschooling, offering live teacher-led instruction 4 days a week to students in grades 7 through 12. Our experienced, enthusiastic teachers provide instruction in math, science, literature, history, languages, Bible, apologetics, rhetoric, government, and economics. Find out why more and more Christian homeschoolers are turning to Logos Online School for the education of their children. Go to logosonlineschool.com today.
That's good coffee, man.
Oh, I didn't even pour myself in it.
You did it again. You did it again.
Alex did that coffee.
Hey, welcome back to Cross Politic on the one and only Fight Laugh Feast Network. And if you haven't downloaded the app yet, get it. It's the only place you can get In the Bullpen with Mark Dewey. Also, with us on the line right now. Was there anything else I was supposed to say?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know.
We have with us Mr. Steve Yates. You may know him from previous episodes of Cross Politic.
Yep.
Is this is like third or fourth time?
Third or fourth. Him and Dave Bonson are kind of
they're competing.
And Doug. I think Doug. I think it's Steve, Doug, and
those guys always get lost.
It is great to have friends of the show.
It is.
Previously, Steve served in the White House as Deputy Assistant to the Vice President for National Security Affairs from 2001 to 2005. He received a master's degree in China Studies from the Johns Hopkins University and Paul H. I don't know how to pronounce that. School of Advanced International Studies, and is fluent in Mandarin.
Whoa.
No.
Don't do that, Gabe.
No. Was that name
Bro,
close?
that's pretty racist, man.
Steve, we apologize for Gabe once more, and welcome back to Cross Politic.
Thank you very much. Wonderful to join you.
So there have been some doings recently. I mean, there's been doings in Hong Kong for the last year. Yeah. I mean, it's been building. And just recently, the National People's Congress, China's legislature, passed a resolution to write a new law, essentially the Hong Kong National Security Bill, into law. And I saw images of that vote happening, and people were getting like arrested and dragged off the floor of the Chinese legislature. What was that that motion that was passed, and why is it such a big deal?
Well, this is a long drama that is kind of culminating in 2020. In 1997, the British gave up sovereignty over a colony of Hong Kong and gave the sovereignty to the People's Republic of China. There was a promise at the time going in that was embodied in an international agreement registered with the United Nations, which once again has proven to be of no worth in addressing an international security problem. But the agreement promised the people of Hong Kong that they would have a high degree of autonomy for the next 50 years. And for those of us that were not educated in Common Core math, we can know that 2020 is fewer than 50 years from 1997.
Right.
And so they are pushing ahead on imposing one country, one system. In other words, the communist-run system of all of China on the people of Hong Kong. Hong Kong has long been known as an international financial center, has people from all over the world. If you ever have the pleasure of traveling to Asia, now's not the greatest time. But if you had prior to all of this, the people of Hong Kong speak fluent English. They speak it with a little bit of the Queen's English accent, so they sound much more sophisticated than I do. And it's been a wonderful place over many, many years, over past decades. It has had an active faith community. A lot of Asia-based ministries have been based there. A lot of missionaries over the years have come and gone through Hong Kong. Just a vibrant culture, vibrant city. And it's a tragedy what the Communist Party of China is doing. But in a nutshell, they had put pressure on what was supposed to be an autonomous Hong Kong to write legislation that made clear that people wouldn't engage in political activity like speech and assembly and all those radical ideas that we might believe in, and that they would, in their own legislative council in Hong Kong, draft up articles that would be more consistent with respect for the mothership known as the Communist Party. And the people of Hong Kong don't agree with this. The people of Hong Kong have shown over the last year that they actually value freedom. And that they, unlike a lot of other people around the world, recognize what true tyranny is, and they're prepared to resist that. And so because the legislature of Hong Kong would not write this legislation and pass it through their democratically elected assembly, the non-democratically elected National People's Congress of China, which I think may have had one dissenting vote out of like 3,000 people present. And that dissenting vote was probably someone who fell asleep and just accidentally voted wrong. And so we basically we had the National Congress equivalent in China impose their version of this law on the people of Hong Kong. And so this is a slow burning problem. We've talked about it before. I fear that this won't end well for the people of Hong Kong. At the same time, the images of their peaceful, dignified, principled opposition to this are inspiring to me. I wish they didn't have to suffer through this. I don't think there's a role for the United States to sort of intervene in traditional or historical style of sending in the troops. But I do think that it's an important time for people to know what's happening. Certainly pray for the faithful and the freedom-loving people of Hong Kong. And I think more importantly, to just recognize what all of us should have known all along, that the Communist Party of China is an evil regime. And ultimately, we're not going to have peace in this world as long as a party like that continues to dominate a large country. And I hope one day the people of China will be able to enjoy the blessings of freedom that we enjoy. That's up to them. But right now, we are at a particularly dark moment with regard to the aggression from the Communist Party towards Hong Kong and towards us. And President Trump is scheduled to address the American reaction to a lot of this later today.
Now, Secretary Pompeo, he responded immediately, I think even yesterday or on Wednesday, I saw a tweet from him talking about what was going to happen, and then I saw another tweet from him about saying how the U.S. is disappointed in these actions and so forth. And it sounds like we're going to have another update as the show will be dropping on Sunday, but on Friday we'll have another update that's coming out later on Friday. But it sounds like we've already started initiating some sort of response. What's going on with us in relationship to Hong Kong?
Well, I think we're doing at least what we can start with, which is just telling the truth. I think the diplomatic word for what Secretary Pompeo has been doing is he has been en fuego. He has been tweeting like no Secretary of State has ever before and giving some public speeches that are very, very direct and blunt about what is going on with the Communist Party government. A lot of their diplomats have been basically lying and inciting violence in other parts of the world. They've engaged in absolutely despicable behavior. There was a moment a few weeks back when the communist government had instructed businesses in the massive city of Guangzhou not to serve black people because they were spreading the virus. And we had our consul general and some of the staff in our consulate in Guangzhou that were being discriminated against from going to a McDonald's in China. Wow. Actually, some African governments stood up and made the foreign ministry publicly apologize, actually bow towards them in response to this outrage. But Secretary Pompeo has been prompt and accurate in calling out what's been going wrong. The challenge we have in particular with Hong Kong, though, is that they're already under the sovereign control of the People's Republic of China.
Right.
It's a little bit easier for us to stand by the independent people of Taiwan or other sovereign nations that are out there in the world. But when you're already under the sovereign control of the People's Republic, it's a little bit harder for us to have real action items. So I hope the president's team today is going to be saying some things we can do with regard to our supply chain being secured, sanctioning some of the human rights violators of China, at least making sure that they don't have privileged access to our markets. They don't get to freely come and go to our country. And maybe we shouldn't be educating the next generation of nuclear engineers for the People's Liberation Army in our own universities.
Wow.
And so I hope that we're rolling that boulder back. Because Secretary Pompeo has been very good on this, I think, in stark contrast to previous secretaries of state, Republican and Democrat.
So would you help me with something? It seems that Hong Kong is an extremely important chess piece for China. And it seems that for us in America, it's an important chess piece for us. Why is that?
Well, number one, it has been a major international financial center. So an enormous amount of international capital flows through there that's related to investment in China or other parts of the region. And it has been one of the busiest, freest ports for goods in the entire world. And so when it comes to what's either in stock or not in stock at your big box store, or other things that come by way of things we click on the internet, Hong Kong probably has played a role in maybe up to a third of the items that you're clicking on. And so so it's an incredibly important port. So it's strategic in that regard. The problem we have right now is that China has been changing. There was no good rationale for China to put the pedal to the metal on putting into concentration camps over 1 million Muslims in their far west, putting the pedal to the metal on the free people in Hong Kong, to going after Australia and some other governments for saying, no, we're not going to be a doormat for you telling us how to run our country. They didn't have to do these things, but something has gone wrong for China under Xi Jinping, and they seem to be picking a fight. And I think that is one of the great challenges. A lot of our scholars, experts in government, have a relatively soft view that we can just engage them and deal with them, and if we just show them enough respect, that this is all going to work out. I think that day is gone. So they're showing us what their true nature is.
Is this? Do you see this as a response to Trump in any way, or is Trump responding to them? Because there's been the tariffs and sort of a harder, it seems like a stronger stance towards China than the past.
Yeah.
What's your read on that?
Right. Well, I've been dealing with China issues for over 30 years, and President Trump by far is the most realistic of presidents I've seen in action in dealing with China. And it's not that you and I or people that watch this are going to be those that have to watch everything through the prism of President Trump. But certainly most of the world and most of the world's media have become accustomed to seeing him as the dominant variable in every equation. In this particular case, I think the dominant variable is Xi Jinping and the Communist Party. Their economy was already on the downward slide. There are already political pressures inside China. And his government was increasing surveillance and control and oppression before Donald Trump said or did anything. That has accelerated at the time that Donald Trump has been president. And I think the tariffs have put some added pressure on China, but alone it can't explain why China under Xi Jinping's leadership is doing all of this now. I think it has more to do with the evil nature of that regime, and that over time they can't sustain that. And so we're dealing with them trying to fan nationalism as a way to shield their people from seeing their own ineffectiveness.
Steve, it seems like we're in this supposedly 50-year transfer, really, and this is going to happen. Basically, this is inevitable anyways. Is that correct? Like China, it's inevitable that China's law is eventually going to apply.
They're just pushing the timeline up.
Yeah,
changing the goalposts.
That's all.
Yeah.
So why do we even care now? It's going to happen anyways.
Well, I think there is a little bit of buyer's remorse, perhaps, in some quarters. Although I think in this day and age, our memories are quite short.
Yeah.
But when this bet was made, when the British agreed to do this, it was under Margaret Thatcher, who was no wilting lily when it came to world leaders, but possibly made the worst deal of her career in this case. But from the 1980s and 1990s, you recall, especially after the Tiananmen massacre, we knew that the Communist Party was brutally in charge. But we were seeing the world change in a way, and people were writing essays like The End of History. And I think people thought that if we bought 50 years of time, that the China in 50 years from now would be one that would be very different. And so it would be
more democratic,
probably okay for the laws and norms of that China to absorb the people of Hong Kong at that point. But as with any bet you make, you just don't have control over that, which is maybe why you shouldn't gamble. With this case, it was a serious, I think, miscalculation. These brutal regimes have a stickiness to them, whether it's North Korea, China, and many others, Venezuela being another one. So in a way, it was inevitable. But a lot of supposedly smart people thought that we would manage over time to have a better China to absorb Hong Kong.
Yeah, Steve, can you help us think through what's the best move for America right now in order to help Hong Kong?
Yeah.
Well, I was always really, really moved by a movie that my friend Newt Gingrich made called 9 Days. And it was about Poland and a unique moment when Pope John Paul II, Ronald Reagan, Margaret Thatcher, and the Solidarity movement in Poland, all coming from very different points of view, had interests aligned. And it was a dark time for the people of Poland, and a lot of experts around the world were saying the Soviet Union was going to win the Cold War. And instead, these leaders stood up and gave a message to the people of Poland that you are not alone. And I think it's just really important that everybody that can hear our voices and really cares about the sanctity of the lives at stake in Hong Kong, at least make clear to the people of Hong Kong that they're not alone. So we may have limited ability, but it matters a great deal to them that we acknowledge that we see what they're doing. Many of them are not asking for us to go to Hong Kong and stand by them. And they're just asking for our love, our attention, our prayers, our support. And we can at least do that. Now, when it comes to our government, I think we need to speak up. We need to call out entities that are worthless, like the United Nations. And we need to, I think, rally our allies to be ready to receive those who have to flee. The government of China is going to arrest some of these dissidents. Some of these people are going to need to leave. And I think that we should offer safe haven to some of them. This is not like a flood of boat people that has been dealt with in the past. We're dealing with highly educated and in many ways high net worth people that need basically a safe place to live to ride out this storm. And so I think we're going to have to be creative, but it should be our allies in the region first that bear a lot of that burden. And the United States has a unique role in shining a spotlight on what's going on there, putting pressure on the government of China to back away, perhaps. But what we as a people can do, first and foremost, is call on a higher authority to help these people know that they don't stand alone against what I think is the world's greatest evil at the moment.
Steve, how can we follow you and keep track of what you're doing?
Well, I am on Twitter at YatesDCIA. I can't say that Twitter is the most healthy platform to engage in civil discourse, but you can at least keep track of news. And I try to retweet and comment on things that I think are insightful there. And people can forgive an occasional spicy tweet that is out there. But that's probably the single point of contact that is most effective in trying to track what I think is important in keeping track of me.
Yates DCIA. I found it. It's right there. It's on Twitter.
I follow him. Do you follow him?
I do, actually.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Hey, Steve, appreciate you. Thank you for coming on Cross Politic, and let us continue to play for our brothers and sisters in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Boy, they got a fight in front of them. More Cross Politic when we come back. Wow.
Classical Conversations supports homeschooling parents by cultivating the love of learning through a Christian worldview in fellowship with other families. We provide a classical, Christ-centered curriculum, local, like-minded communities across the United States and in several countries, and we train parents who are striving to be great classical educators in the home. For more information and to get connected, please visit our website at classicalconversations.com. Classical, Christian, get connected, get community. Is this new music? This is new music also.
Music. Yeah, it is.
I've never heard this.
No, it's the first time we've ever had on the show.
I'm kidding.
So was I.
I'm so kidding.
I love having all the cameras back in
everywhere.
Back in the studio.
To Cross Politic on the Fight Laugh Feast Network. Hey, in a couple of days, Grace Agenda is happening. August 14th and 15th. GraceAgenda.com. You know, in a minute. Fight Laugh Feast Conference, October 1st to the 3rd. You're coming to Nashville, right? Nashville's open. Our venue's open. You're going to come Fight, Laugh, and Feast with us. That's October 1st to the 3rd. Register at fightlaughfeast.com. And also, we'll be in San Diego. Right Response Annual Conference, October 23rd through the 24th. RightResponseMinistries.com/conference. Sign up. Come see us if you're anywhere in the California area. Hey, speaking of protests, right? I mean, we cut it off. We talked with Mr. Yates for a couple more minutes. And we were you asked him specifically, Knox, about it seems like it's been mostly peaceful protests
in Hong Kong.
And in Hong Kong, and he pointed out, he says, yeah, except for a few instances where Chinese nationals have dressed up like Hong Kongers. We call them Hong Kongers.
Hong Kongians.
Oh boy,
and
it's gonna be a long one.
And have done have been doing smashing windows and being violent and starting fights, and then having somebody having their buddy catching it on the phone and then put it up on the
their bots working
interwebs. Get the bots going. But you know what? That's how it's going.
Yeah.
I mean we started the show talking about are you a utility or are you a publisher?
Right.
And Trump getting in it with Twitter.
Yep.
But this is, everywhere. The information and disinformation is wound into what's going on now in Minneapolis, for example.
Because it's all about the election.
It's about the election. Yeah. It's also all about manipulation.
That's right, because that's
election.
COVID-19
and grasping for power. And it's
exactly right.
I'm going to run the narrative. I'm going to control the narrative. And with all of these, with phones in our hands, people are, they're glad to spin the story however they want.
Yeah. Okay. And when people start spinning stories, you really don't know what to think. You don't have any truth.
No.
And so you really don't.
This is relativism, postmodernism.
It doesn't help anybody.
Subjectivism come to roost.
Yeah. Right. No. Okay? It hurts the minorities.
God is running the reductio.
Yeah.
On the last 50 years of higher academia.
Right.
And the universities and the colleges have been saying, whose truth?
Well, this is what we get for sending our kids to those places.
Whose truth? And your truth is for you, and my truth is for me. And who's to say? And I don't believe in absolute truth.
It doesn't really work for justice, does it?
It doesn't really work for George Floyd.
No.
Look at what happens.
Put him in the car by now, bro. He's not resisting arrest or nothing. You enjoying it? Look at you. Your body language explains it. You fucking bum.
Bro, get the off of here. It's the whites. They love
doing that to the black. I already know that, bro. I trained with half of these bum-ass dudes at the academy, bro. You know that's bogus right now, bro. You know it's bogus. You can't even look at me like a man because you a bum, bro. He's not even resisting arrest right now, bro.
His nose is bleeding.
You stopping his breathing right now, bro. You think that's cool? You think that's cool, really though, not. Right? What's your badge number, bro? You think that's cool right now, bro? You think that's cool though, bro? You're a bum, bro. You're a bum for that. You're a bum for that, bro. You get mad.
He's gone.
Stopping his breathing right now. The dude's about to go out now, bro.
Look at him. Get off of him now. What the f? He got mace. He got mace. He cannot breathe. Get over here. No, first of all.
Bro, look, well, you should check on him. He's not responsive.
So the lady said she's a firefighter from Minneapolis?
Look at him.
He's not responsive right now.
That went on for
That's tough.
How long?
Some say 8. I counted 7 minutes with his knee on his neck like that. Watching that from the beginning was really tough.
Yeah. I didn't watch it till now.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
That was your first time?
That was your first time seeing
Whoa.
it? Oh,
I didn't want to watch it. Yeah.
Watching the whole thing. Watching the whole thing was worse than just what we just saw.
Yeah, I know.
It was.
I knew it was going to be. I saw everybody's post. I knew it was going to be terrible.
Everyone knows the background probably by this point, but it'd probably good.
Yeah,
let's
let's
quick to cover
review
it.
it
fast.
So George Floyd was in a store, apparently passed off some sort of forged bill, allegedly.
Yeah.
A forged dollar bill or a forged check.
Forged $20 bill.
Forged $20 bill. And so he gets back in his car. The store calls the cops. The cops come and arrest him.
Okay.
And so they pull him out of the car. There's some footage of him being arrested and walking down the sidewalk towards the cop car, and then he stumbles. The curb caused him to stumble. Yeah. He's arrested. He's got his handcuffs on. The curb caused him to stumble.
That's how he ended up on the ground.
And then basically that's how he ends up on the ground around the corner of the cop car. So he stumbles in front of the cop car, and then somehow he ends up on the ground on the other side of the cop car and everything. And then that's where it's at. So
and then this is the attorney for the county attorney.
It's a violation of my ethics to talk and evaluate evidence before we announce our charging decision, and I will not do that. I will say this, that video is graphic and horrific and terrible, and no person should do that. But my job in the end is to prove that he violated a criminal statute, and there is other evidence that does not support a criminal charge. We need to wade through all of that evidence and to come through with a meaningful determination, and we are doing that to the best of our ability.
So that was Thursday.
Yep.
That was last Thursday, and then later in the day there was a clarification sent out by the Hennepin County Attorney's Office. It said that line, that there was other evidence, was being misinterpreted. To clarify, County Attorney Freeman was saying that it is critical to review all the evidence because at the time of trial, invariably all that information will be used. Evidence not favorable to our case needs to be carefully examined to understand the full picture of what actually happened.
Right.
This happens in every case. This statement does not indicate in any way the horror that we all feel when viewing the video. As in any case, it is simply a matter of adequately preparing for a trial. So that was the clarification that was sent out later. And then on Friday, the officer that you see there, Officer Derek Chauvin, was arrested.
And it looks like that he's just been charged with third-degree murder and manslaughter.
Okay. Yeah. So, and just as a reminder real quick, so first-degree murder, capital murder, is you planned it.
Right.
So you malice aforethought.
Anger, everything about it was all the way through.
But you have to show planning.
Yeah.
You planned to murder.
Okay.
Second-degree murder is a crime of passion.
Okay.
Meaning, you suddenly see somebody doing something that just makes you mad in that moment.
Yeah, and you go
and you
after
kill
them.
them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Third-degree murder is when you're in an altercation with somebody.
Okay.
You don't intend to kill them, but you kill them. I mean, you intend to hurt them.
Right.
You intend to harm them. You intend to harm them.
Right.
And in the process, you actually kill them.
Some sort of accidental death.
Yeah,
in some sense.
It's like a negligent homicide.
Yeah, negligent. Okay.
And that's what third-degree murder is.
That's the best they're going to get at this point. That manslaughter. That's the best they're going to get. You know, it's fun. I didn't know. I tried not to engage this so quick. I usually take my time coming to these things, let things build up. I was at a homeschool co-op across the street from where this happened. I grew up in this area.
Really?
38th in Chicago. Pastor Curtis's church is kitty corner of this store.
From where this guy
died
was killed.
So I frequent that store, Cup Foods, often, and that gas station on the corner.
Yeah.
Got off the bus. So I know that area quite well, and so it's, for me right now, this is kind of a little surreal. Being in that area and seeing that whole situation.
Right. Well, and you know this whole city.
This whole city.
I mean, and of course, this whole thing, I mean, it's awful. It takes a couple of days. I mean, the police officers that are involved are all immediately dismissed. They're fired.
Yeah.
All four of them.
Not just this guy, but all
24 hours later, all four of the officers are fired.
But it takes a couple of days. It takes 4 days for there to be an arrest. On the third day, there's this announcement saying we're wading through the material, we're wading through the evidence. Meanwhile, protests
have exploded.
Erupt.
Before we go to that real quick, I want to talk about being in that situation because that's a real situation.
Okay.
If you're in that situation, you brought up something when we were talking about this. And he's like, at what point do you decide to step in and save a person's life?
When do you tackle
the officer? And you made me think about something. I was like, I would never think to tackle that officer because I know as soon as I tackle that officer, I'm probably George Floyd.
Yeah,
there's no way I get out of
the
there.
officer,
his knees on your neck.
You've escalated the situation,
and there's no way in court that I can win that battle. I was trying to save a man's life, and then the court says, "Well, how do you know the man was going to die?"
Yeah, and that's right. You see the people pleading, and you can see it's rough.
Yeah,
but you really don't know exactly how bad it is, until they pick him up.
I mean, but do we have enough evidence now that this is probably things could lead to this way? At what point now do we say, okay, hey, guys, I saw somebody say, hey, here's ways to engage an officer in this situation. Hey, officer, I'm here to help. I've had training in this. Is there a way I can hold him so we can take some pressure off his neck? Hey, I've been trained in CPR. Can I take his pulse for you, officer? Everything I saw from that was aggressive towards the officer, and I know I get you. I'm with you on this.
Right.
But if you're trying to save a person's life, is it worth it to play that role?
Right.
In order to get him to release pressure from that man's neck.
Right. It seems like in this situation you don't have a clear enough gauge.
No, the officer Tao who was in front, it was like
there are other situations where you could see, if an officer is, beating somebody,
right?
Or there's something like you see it, and it's like that looks bad. It doesn't look healthy. It doesn't look good at all. But that's.
Even then, when are you coming into the narrative? I just read about officers coming into a spot where they were there to catch someone who was aggressively hurting someone else with a knife. Right. And a guy comes running out the house, goes to stop another guy who had blood on him, and they shot him, but he was the victim.
Yeah. Right.
And so you can walk into that same situation and not know what's going on. So, I mean, there's just we really need to think about, if I was at this situation, I know I wouldn't have jumped in.
Yeah.
I know because I know that would have escalated the situation, but then this man died because I didn't do anything.
Well, what's the additional angle here is at what point, what's the difference between a cop who accidentally kills someone because he's arresting them and the altercation escalates and then he accidentally kills them versus a situation like this where he arrests the guy and it doesn't seem like there's really any escalation and the cop still kills him.
Right.
Why would the cop get away scot-free maybe on the escalating situation and not on and maybe he's guilty of third-degree murder on this one?
It basically is a version of self-defense.
Yeah.
So in a situation where the guy's actually fighting back, I mean, he's throwing punches and whatever.
Cop gets a good right hand hook on him
and is being violent, and then the cop has to take him down. Right. And in the process of taking him down, he dies. He's killed.
But that's
self-defense.
But that's not negligence, which is what we just saw.
Yeah.
We just saw negligence.
7 minutes of negligence.
High-end negligence at that point. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, and that can I think third degree actually probably fits this. I can't tell, but I mean you would have to. We don't know what else went down.
Yeah.
But you can. It's still negligence, even if he didn't mean to kill him. That's why it's called manslaughter.
Right. Yeah, right.
He didn't mean to kill him, but you were being negligent.
Well, this is pretty high end negligence.
Oh yeah,
this is pretty high end negligence. And I think
there's varying degrees of culpability because of your training and because of your responsibility and because of your power.
Yeah.
You're required to know what your knee is doing in a situation like this.
It would be better for him to have a guy who is a little out of control and to be able to hold him down or pick him up and put him in the vehicle and let him go crazy in the back of the vehicle. You got 4 guys there. Right. I mean, this was pretty. Yeah. This was pretty. And so the third degree is probably the best you can get. The higher up, one more up, second degree. I don't think that's the case.
You would have to prove that the police officer lost his cool. That there was some kind of anger involved in the situation. That's what you would have to prove. I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm just saying that's what has to be demonstrated.
It looked like the officer dug his knee in further when the people were trying to talk him down.
Yeah, and the fact there's an earlier clip where he reached for his mace because he was getting frustrated at the crowd.
Oh, I was on there.
Yeah. So I mean, there's possible.
So maybe there's evidence towards that though, and maybe you get more. But it sounds like he hasn't been charged with that.
Well, usually what they do if they're going to charge somebody, they usually do higher charges because they know that they're probably going to get reasoned down or pushed down to a lower charge.
Yep.
The fact that they didn't go second degree on this means that they don't even feel like that they can prove that.
They analyzed the other evidence.
Right.
The county attorney was talking about, and they said, based on all of this, this is probably the best we can get.
That doesn't make me feel really good, and I don't think it's going to make everybody else feel too good about that either.
Well, so
what does it make you feel good?
You know, after watching that, I think there's a context that sits in, that after seeing that and being around things like that, and I told you guys before about my mother being arrested.
Yeah.
My mom, I was telling her about the story. She called me in the middle of this and said, son, she's crying last night. She's like, son, they're burning down our city.
Yeah.
And we talked again about the whole arrested thing. And I was like, Mom, did they ever charge you with anything? She's like, no. But she brought up a point. She said, the officer said, I will take your son and send him to a home and you'll never have him again. And I was like,
the officer that was going to arrest your mom.
That was going to, the officer that did arrest my mom.
And I remember you said she was arrested because the officer reached for you.
The officer reached to arrest me, and she grabbed me and put me behind her. She said, officer, he didn't do anything. And so he arrested her for resisting arrest. And so, but you know, but
not actually charged.
She
with that.
never got charged with anything. She was released the next day, but we got our car towed and had to go through that whole mess just because.
Yep.
But when you live in a certain context and you start seeing something like this and you see the intent, you can say, hold on, man, there's more behind this, but you can't prove it. And that's what's hard about, I think, a lot of people in the situation. Like, we know there's more behind this. We know.
You mean there's a culture of policing that puts people in predicaments that they should never be in?
I've only had one great interaction with a police officer in Minneapolis. It changed my life about police officers. He was a great guy, and I appreciate that man.
Yeah.
But most of the interactions, most of the context that I've had, being pulled over for no reason, getting our car searched without any legal reason whatsoever, there's a context that when you see this, when you're in that context, you have a different vision of this that probably, I mean, and I'm just being honest, it's probably not really as objective.
Right.
But you're like, that's because
it's still there.
I know. I've been in this situation with these guys before. This is not, you know.
So how do you respond to that?
You know what? It's been my heart just to cry out to God.
Right.
Because I can't prove
so
some things,
it seems
but I know it's wrong.
But when you can't prove it, when it's not objective, when it can't be proven, but you know there's still something wrong there.
That dude, it was wrong.
I mean, but here's the thing. Like, the other options are, I mean, people, what they do is either they punch back.
Right.
They burn down
Which is
Target.
what's happening.
They burn down Target. They burn down the police station.
Yeah.
Or people will try to make more laws.
Right.
And
more man's law is going to solve this, right?
And here I'm with our libertarian buddy back in New York.
Mr. Larry Sharp.
Larry Sharp was like, law ain't going to fix this.
Yeah.
No.
Law's not going to make this better.
Actually, that's what got us in some of the situation. But that's unjust laws. Can I just make that clear?
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, but you have to have, I mean, we should have God's law. We should have biblical law.
Yeah, that's right.
And then after that, what's going to happen is, here's the thing. People frequently don't get this. Even with God's law in place, there will still be some injustices that happen.
That's right.
That is between them and God.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
This is why, I mean, the law requires 2 or 3 witnesses.
That's right.
And if you don't have 2 or 3 witnesses, does it mean that no crime happened?
No.
No. Crimes can still happen, but if God hasn't supplied the 2 or 3 witnesses, then what God has sovereignly decreed is that until some new evidence comes forth or a new witness comes forth, that person doesn't mean they're innocent. But it means you cannot prosecute them and convict them of the crime.
And there's a trust in the way that God's made his world.
Right.
What a man sows, he's going to reap.
That's right.
And if you believe that and you hold to that and you say, oh, buddy, whatever's going to happen, it's going to be worse for you.
This is wrong. I can't do anything about it, and God's coming
and
after
this is
you.
why God's giving the option for people who are thieves to come and confess. Right. So that you have a lesser punishment. Because if you get busted, it's going to be worse. Yeah. So God has a plan set up for this too.
Yeah. Sooner or later, God's going to cut you down.
You can't get away from it. And you know,
Johnny Cash it.
One thing that's hard to hear, me and my wife have talked about this, you know, and we were talking about this a little earlier too, is that sometimes when you're in this position, we've looked at Israel and said, okay, Israel was oppressed. They were mistreated, done wrong so many ways by Pharaoh, and their job was to cry out to God for justice, cry out to God to free us, cry out to God for a hero.
Stop worshiping Egyptian gods.
Yeah, that's right. Come on now. And what God did was he sent his man, he sent his prophet, he sent Moses.
Right.
But the way that it happened wasn't necessarily the way that they thought it was going to happen.
Right.
Now, we might disagree on this. We were talking about this earlier. But Moses went to go and try and liberate God's people by bringing the hammer down and killing somebody.
Oh, yeah, on the taskmaster.
On the taskmaster. Yeah. But that wasn't a good enough judgment for what they deserved in Egypt. God had a better plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what he did was he brought Moses in and set him in an authority position for his people in front of Pharaoh.
Yeah. Right.
And so that happened. God did that, and there's a way to support that and come in. But we need to be the ones who are crying out for that to happen. God,
send your deliverance.
Send your deliverance.
Yeah.
But I think in a lot of ways that starts with us I think that we need to first get in the right positions that we need to be in authoritatively with our own houses, with our own homes, with our own family, with our own people. Yeah. And then from that, start to work out how God tells us to live in the world so that when we're working our positions out, we've already got a strong base of authority to work from. Right. Yeah. We're solid men in the community.
Right. I mean, one of the things this does, I agree completely. I think one of the things this does is it sort of continues to add to the complexity. I mean, one of the things that we've been running around, here kind of, tagging for fun is, Romans 13.
Right.
Hey, Romans 13.
Submit to the officer.
Romans 13, right? Yeah. And it's like, okay, yes. Do we believe in Romans 13? Absolutely.
It's in the Bible.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's inspired word of God. It's holy. It's good. It's true. But the application of that is actually more complicated than a lot of people want to admit.
That's right.
And not only is it complicated because of all these layers of authority, you've got
you got your mayor, you got your officer, you got your governor,
county attorney,
you got
county judges, you've got Supreme Court, you got federal judges, you got president, you all these things. But you also have the complexity of the information.
Right.
I mean, again, go back to the Hong Konger situation. The same thing's going on in Minneapolis now, and the same thing's going on in our media now. It's very selective. I saw a video clip. It wasn't conclusive last night, but it was people confronting a news reporter who they said was playing
gunfire
on his phone while he was doing a report on the Minneapolis riots.
You know why?
Why?
Because George Floyd's death wasn't enough.
Apparently,
right?
Because justice is not enough.
Right.
The truth is not enough.
Right, exactly.
But there were other reports that there's other people that are being shipped in. The people that
Antifa.
The people that are doing the worst damage and violence and blowing buildings up and stuff, aren't even from Minneapolis.
No, they've been going around. It's been amazing to watch this process. So if you've been paying attention online, you will have Antifa or you'll have some of the Black Lives Matter crew come in and break the windows. They won't go in the stores. Yeah. They'll break the windows and then start inciting people to do it. And then so they'll get the high praise and they'll get the crowd whooped up and and it's just it's just been horrible to watch that.
But you have, there's just multiple layers here. What are you waiting for? I'm just trying to get you to play the clip.
I want to be clear in how I characterize this. This is mostly a protest. It is not generally speaking unruly, but fires have been started, and there's a crowd that is.
For those who are listening on audio right now, this news reporter is talking about how the protest is not unruly while a building is on blazing fire right behind his head.
What's the GIF that people play where there's the guy that's just like everything's just fine.
Everything's just fine. It's just falling apart around
fire. It's like, you just walked into a GIF, bro. But actually, here's the thing. So this is hilarious, but I actually think he's probably right.
I think he goes on to actually try and say that there's been a few people who have kind of held things and done things like this.
I think it's very likely. I can't prove this, but I think it's very likely that the protest in Minneapolis is a lot like what Steve Yates told us offline about what's going on in Hong Kong, where you've got some people bussing in who are paid thugs.
Yeah.
Who really are. They're terrorists. Yeah. And they're coming in and they're starting fires, they're blowing stuff up, they're breaking windows. Right. And I know that there are some people there probably who are participating in some of the looting.
Oh, yeah, I got some family members.
Okay.
Yeah, I know them.
And to be clear, I think I saw several clips yesterday where I was watching, and it's not even just a racial thing.
No.
I saw white people coming out of Target with shopping carts.
And this is what, I don't know if people know about Minneapolis, but Minneapolis is a very blended place. Like, you got white people there that are so pro-black it's not funny.
Yeah.
They're aligned in so many ways with what's going on there that it's kind of weird to think that of the racism that's there because they're so united in some ways that it's like.
Right. Anyways, I'm just saying, like, it's complicated. That's the point. It's messed up. You don't know exactly. Who's doing what? And I think there is a very good chance that there are a bunch of people who just want justice for George Floyd.
Yeah.
And they're just standing out there saying, "Hey, let's."
There's some guys who were armed in front of a store.
Oh yeah,
I think we were watching the other day.
They were loaded.
AR-15s, some Glocks, had some of the guns out there, and was like, "Hey, justice for Floyd," but we don't like them looters. And it's like, I get that. Yeah. But one of the things too is like, whatever what happened with George was horrible. But there's a domino effect that this creates that happens to everybody else too, where they're losing all the economy that's going to be there.
Yeah.
It's at least 10 years, if not longer, before the people. Look at all these jobs that are lost too.
Did you see that clip? And again, there's another clip. The older black man who was crying.
Because he owns a bar.
At the all the looters, the people milling around grabbing stuff, and he was like, "Don't do this. You're doing this to yourself. You're doing this to yourself. I didn't march for this. I didn't walk for this. This is wrong. You're doing this to yourself. Don't do this." And he's just like pleading with people, with the people who are breaking laws, who are actually damaging things, who are looting and so on.
And there's another black man who owned a bar and a restaurant. He said he took his whole life to build it, all his savings, all that stuff, and they looted it. They tore it up.
And you know, I don't want to conflate the two people who are really wanting justice for Floyd and the ones who are looters. But at the same time, I do want to say that if you want justice, you got to hate this.
Yep.
If you want true justice, then you have to look at this and say stealing is wrong, destroying other people's property is wrong. God has something to say about anything that's done that's unbiblical. And when you look at it that way, you might have a clearer view of how we deal with this. Because I'm watching a lot of people thinking like, hey, they don't have any other way to express themselves.
Right.
I'm like, prayer?
Yeah.
Crying out to God? Actually maybe not being peaceful,
sing psalms.
defending against people who are doing this, like other people who are. Like there's ways to engage. It's like, no, you're not going to do that in my town. You're not going to do that. That's why I said I want to be in Minneapolis earlier at the town, because I don't think I couldn't help Floyd. I know I couldn't help Floyd.
Yeah.
I could do something about this.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We're not going to let you destroy businesses.
But this is. I mean, just the people who are destroying things are acting just like that cop.
Right. Yeah. They're
negligent, reckless.
If you're destroying things, you are destroying livelihoods, and we've been talking about this a lot with all the COVID crazy.
Yeah.
You are destroying.
You're aligning
lives.
way more with him than you think.
Right. Oh yeah. You're becoming like him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this whole thing's really complicated. I mean, I could not believe this footage.
I'm sorry? You're under arrest. Okay. Do you mind telling me why I'm under arrest, sir? Why am I under arrest, sir?
Cameraman gets arrested.
This is happening live on television, live on CNN.
It's unbelievable. He's happy with that footage.
If you're just tuning in, this is our camera crew, our CNN camera crew, being arrested by the Minneapolis State Police. We believe the camera is now on the ground because our cameraman has been handcuffed.
Okay, two things. First of all, let me just start at the end of this. Cameraman, you deserve a raise.
He nailed it.
That was excellent.
He nailed it.
Right there. You the real MVP right now. I just want you to know that. The cameraman.
You saw what he did?
Oh, my goodness, man. Bravo.
He put the camera down, turned it around, got the writing on the ground.
Whoever made that camera needs to give you a lifetime supply of cameras. You nailed that. That was... But... what in the world are you thinking?
Yep.
I mean, the PR person for the police department has to be flipping out and losing their mind right now because they are live television, and the guy ahead, before this happened, is telling the police officers, hey, we will move wherever you want us to. Tell us where you want us to go. Yeah. Yes, sir, we're complying. He's holding his CNN badge, his media badge. Yeah. Hey, tell us where you want to be at. We'll move there. He keeps telling them over and over again. And just after the situation with Floyd, they decide to arrest him.
A black correspondent.
Well, and his whole crew. But why would, I mean, really?
Yeah.
Is there no thinking here? Is it?
No, actually there's not.
There's none.
There's not. No, we have become, our minds have been darkened.
Ooh, that's right.
We have become fools.
We've gone insane.
We have gone insane.
Romans 1.
Remember, I mean, we defend the murder of babies, the sale of baby parts.
Yep. Yeah.
Remember, we celebrate dudes being with other dudes.
Right.
We celebrate mutilating bodies.
Yep.
And we call that freedom. We call that diversity.
Yep.
We have embraced this, and we have gone insane.
And this is the fruit of that.
This is the fruit of that.
You know, one thing I can't help think about right now with all again, the COVID stuff and all the lockdowns, I'm sure that plays a part into all of this, to the lockdown that's happening. People are looking to... You can't make people prisoners and don't think that this happens. Right. You can't expect that. But as I was looking...
What happened to the lockdown anyway?
What lockdown? There was a lockdown? Nobody knows there was a lockdown. I didn't see a whole bunch of people with masks on. Well, that's on some bandanas.
Watch the COVID breakout's going to happen in Minnesota next.
Well, let's check the next 14 days. Yeah. But,
COVID doesn't spread after an unjust killing.
Well, we'll see about that. If you don't like the knee of the police officer on the neck of Floyd, then you really don't like the knee of the government on your neck either.
Oh.
Yeah.
And if you can't
you don't
see
like
that,
Gavin Newsom on your neck.
Come on now.
You don't like Governor Whitmer on your neck.
And what are we
Cuomo
saying?
on your neck.
What are we saying? We can't breathe.
Right.
Yeah.
We can't work.
We can't pay our bills.
Pay our bills.
Yeah. Right.
And they are continuing to say, who cares?
Right. Yeah.
Who cares?
This is the thing that I really hate.
And they're pulling out the mace.
And if we don't,
and they're pulling out the weapons.
If we don't connect these two things together, we're going to miss this because this is not two separate entities.
That's the thing. I think
exactly
most annoys me about a lot of the articles I've seen in conservative Christian circles is that all it can see is the possible racial animosity.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Right.
Everybody's like, racism is bad.
Yeah.
Racism,
and it is.
And it is. And are there racial components in this? Sure,
absolutely,
most likely, absolutely.
Yeah, I think there are.
But this is the thing. That's not what's. I don't think that's what's driving this.
No, and I don't think there's necessarily something I can't say in this particular case. But there's, of course, there's sinful people. There's always racial components.
We've covered this over and over again. But the greater harm, the greater problem in all of this is statism.
Oh, come on now.
Is the power to the state. And it's the states that, they've been coming in saying, we're going to save you from racism. We're going to save you. We're going to save you. What have they done? They've done nothing.
Right.
They made it worse.
From the same states that have legalized it? Is that what we want? Do we want more states' ability to come in and help us? They've done a horrible job.
And
please don't save us.
And so you have all these, I think it amounts to virtue signaling when all they can say is, see racism is bad.
Yeah.
And what they can't see is that the very same tyranny that crushed George Floyd's neck is crushing our rights as American citizens.
They're not
and if you say that, they say, well, you're being selfish.
Right.
Yeah.
The same Christians would be like, oh, that's horrible what happened to George Floyd.
Yeah.
But have no problem with Newsom
of
ordering all the churches closed and all the businesses closed and crushing people's
jobs
necks.
and livelihoods.
It's the same thing, people.
Yeah. Well, we've missed all. I mean, I'm exacerbated talking about all the data.
That's not the word you want, but
yeah. I'm tired of it. I'm exacerbated.
No, you're not. That's not the word.
I'm tired of it.
I'm gonna drink my water.
Talking about when this whole thing came out,
exasperated.
All these what's that? No, all these politicians that peddled out the data from Imperial College all the way down
COVID-19?
to
When COVID-19 happened.
Yep.
Okay.
So when it first all came out, when COVID started coming down, all these politicians started peddling out data. From Imperial College, and then my state, my local city council gave me all sorts of data, and I gave them all sorts of data back.
Right.
And now
did it matter?
Data, it didn't matter.
Did they say, "Oh, that's interesting. That's helpful information"?
Not one bit. And then more data's come out.
Right.
The clarity of the data is getting more and more clear. The actual narrative of what's going on.
Right.
And here, come to find out, in New York, Cuomo on March 25th. How long ago was that?
Almost 2 months ago.
That was a long time ago.
Over 2 months.
On March 25th, he signed a resolution requiring elderly homes to take back their COVID patients.
Right.
So someone would get the virus.
Nothing bad will happen.
Yeah.
Nothing bad will happen.
And required all these patients to go back to elderly homes.
Most deaths have happened in nursing
42%. In fact, this is a map by state where all the deaths have happened in elderly homes. So in Idaho, 56% of the deaths in Idaho were coming from elderly homes.
Yeah. And there's been
some sort of long-term care elderly homes facility.
Yeah, right.
So he's sending back people who have had COVID that could still be infecting other people back into the very dangerous place.
And the website, the page on which that policy was published,
been deleted and taken away.
For some reason, gone.
And
Surprise.
now as of I think May 3rd, they now have adjusted how they're categorizing the data. So it used to be they'd categorize the data. This is in New York. I don't know if it's anywhere else, but particularly in New York, if you had got the virus and died because of it, before May 3rd, if you got the virus in an elderly home, wound up in the hospital, they would categorize the death as an elderly home death.
Even if you died in the hospital, but you caught it in the elderly home.
Now they're categorizing the data. If you caught the virus in an elderly home, you went to the hospital, and you died in the hospital, then it says it's a hospital death.
Oh yeah.
So now they're even softening.
Dude,
so the 13% in New York is a lie.
Yeah. The numbers, we've been pointing this out the whole time. The numbers have been so all over.
Yeah.
You don't know. I mean, everybody's been saying.
I think the one thing that's been clear, though, is that this has been bad for the elderly, and you quarantine the elderly.
Sure.
And that's been the one thing we've been saying.
But we don't even know what a COVID-19 death is.
That's the thing.
We don't really know.
Everybody's been saying, okay, we just went over 100,000 deaths.
Yeah.
Of what?
Yeah.
Right. Of what? We don't know. I mean, a bunch of the states didn't make any distinction between dying with and dying from.
Yep.
We've been saying that since Peter Hitchens came on the show.
Well, apparently Epstein died of the COVID virus.
Yeah.
So did George Floyd, apparently.
One of the things that keeps coming back to my mind, if we don't have, you said this on the show, and I think we need to probably make a T-shirt out of it or something. If you don't have God's law as your standard, then the weak, the poor, the those that are minorities, they get crushed. Yeah. Because God's law is even, it's fair, it matches to everybody regardless of their status.
Right. And God's law is particularly there to protect the weak.
Yes.
And the vulnerable. Those who don't have appeal.
Yeah.
Those who don't have a voice.
That goes back to the nursing homes that are getting crushed, all the way to Minneapolis where Floyd's neck got crushed, all the way to the businesses that are getting crushed.
To the babies
that are getting crushed. I mean, all of that is, if we don't have God's law, we can expect a world like that, you know? Yeah. So
I like your point too, though. I think what do you do in a mess like this? What can you do?
Yeah.
You cry out to God.
Yeah.
You cry out to, the state can't fix this.
No.
Right?
Come on now.
Come on. I mean, they can't. Donald Trump, you can't fix this.
No.
Supreme Court, you can't fix this. Police, you can't fix this.
They're only going to make it worse.
It's a mess. It's a mess. You don't even know what's going on. People are playing gunshots on their phones while they're doing, these news reports. Thugs are doing things, and they are making it look like peaceful protesters are doing it.
Yeah.
We don't know who's dying from COVID. We don't know who's got COVID. It's like it's all misinformation, and it's not working.
Yeah.
It's not working.
No.
Okay? Because the state's not your savior.
No.
Jesus is the only savior.
Amen.
Jesus is the only one who can save us from this. So cry out to him.
Amen.
And get in the Word.
Yep.
Read your Bible. You say, what do I do? Get in the Word.
You want Reformation
Get
Revival?
in the Word.
Read it.
And then do your duty.
Yep.
What is it? Protect your people, protect your church, protect your family. I bought a holster today.
Did you for what?
Hey. I got one for my Glock.
Way to go.
I got a Tenacor. Hey,
you rocking it right now?
I'm not. It's coming in. I just ordered it today.
Yeah.
But do your duty. Protect your people.
That's right.
Love your people.
Defend
Worship
your people. That's
God.
right.
Worship God. Go to a church that actually teaches you the Bible. Doesn't give you just an emotional orgasm.
Right.
Come on now.
You need the Word.
Right
you need
now.
the Word, and because the Word is your food. The Word is your strength. The Word is your shelter. The Word is your fortress.
Yep.
And we need a fortress in this place.
And one more thing. God hears the cries of his people. I don't think we believe that. I don't think we believe that. He really does hear the cry of his people. So cry out to the Lord. He will hear you.
Amen.
If you're single, get married. If you're married, have kids. And if you have kids, go baptize them. Until next week, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Cross Politics.